Welcome to the deep dive. So today I want you to imagine a really strange scenario. Just picture a man who was born today.
Okay, a baby born today. Got it.
Right. And he grows up, he goes to school, he falls in love, he succeeds, he fails. He lives a completely standard, normal human life.
Just a totally mundane existence.
Exactly. But here is the catch. Nobody ever tells him who he was in a past life.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so there are no books lying around about his previous existence. There are no disciples waiting for him, no YouTube videos analyzing his old speeches.
No Instagram quotes attributed to him.
Right. And absolutely no orange robes anywhere. It's just life. A total, complete blank slate.
Okay, so he has no clue.
None at all.
Yeah.
But here is the reveal. This man actually possesses the exact same consciousness as an ancient enlightened master.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like think of someone like Osho, who in a previous lifetime delivered thousands of discourses, right? Someone who completely shattered traditions.
But in this new life, he's forgotten all of it.
Completely forgotten. Zero memory. He has no idea he was ever a master. And that brings us to the core mission of our deep dive today.
Which is a pretty heavy mission, honestly.
It really is. Because we pull from these fascinating philosophical texts and psychological frameworks, but we are not here to debate the mechanics of reincarnation.
Right, that's not the point.
The central question is, can truth survive the complete loss of memory? Like, if truth is actually real, would it emerge again from a completely blank slate?
It's such a radical thought experiment because it forces a total reorientation of how we process the world.
Yeah, how so?
Well, we are culturally conditioned to view learning and, discovering truth as this accumulative process.
Like hoarding.
Exactly. The prevailing mechanism is hoarding. You read more books, you memorize more facts, you listen to more lectures.
And then magically you arrive at the truth.
Right, at the end of that assembly line of data. But this scenario suggests the mechanism works in the exact opposite direction.
But wait, if truth isn't tied to the information we remember, then what are we even talking about when we say the word truth?
That's the big question.
I mean, my entire life, the definition of knowing the truth has basically been synonymous with, remembering the correct information for a test.
Yeah, but the sources draw a really harsh foundational boundary here. Memory belongs exclusively to the mind, whereas truth belongs to reality.
Okay, those are two different categories.
Entirely different categories. Let's look at a specific example from the text involving mathematics.
I love this one.
It's so good. Suppose a neurosurgeon could go in and selectively erase every single memory of mathematics from your brain.
Just wipe it completely clean.
Right. The concept of numbers, addition, geometry gone. You wouldn't even know what the symbol for the number 2 looks like.
I'd be totally clueless.
But the fundamental reality is that 2 apples placed next to 2 other apples will still equal 4 apples.
Even if I don't know the word for.
Exactly. The reality of that relationship operates completely independently of your brain's biological ability to store the concept.
So the data in my head is just the description of the thing. It's not the thing itself.
Yes, and the text takes it a step further into physics.
Right, the gravity example.
Yeah, if that same neurosurgeon erases your memory of gravity, you forget the word, you forget Isaac Newton, you forget all the equations.
Objects are still going to fall if I drop them.
Precisely. The truth of gravity survives your personal amnesia. It survives the burning of physics textbooks. It survives the collapse of universities.
It doesn't need us to remember it to exist.
Right. So the bold claim our source material makes is this. If something cannot survive total memory loss, it was never truth.
Yeah.
If it requires a book to be remembered, or a teacher to validate it, or a tradition to sustain it, it was merely information.
What's fascinating here is how we constantly confuse acquiring information with discovering truth.
Yes, we mistake the map for the actual territory.
Okay, let's unpack this with an analogy because I want to make sure I'm wrapping my head around the mechanics of it.
Let's hear it.
It feels like wiping the hard drive of a computer.
Oh, that's a good way to look at it.
Right. You format the whole thing and all the save files, the word processors, the photos, the software, all that curated data is just gone.
Totally wiped.
But the fundamental laws of electricity that are actively powering the machine, they haven't changed a bit.
They exist regardless of what software is running.
Exactly. So if truth is the electricity in this scenario, then what is the psychological equivalent of all those saved files? Like, what is all the stuff we spend our entire lives desperately curating and protecting.
Well, that is exactly where the text introduces a deeply unsettling framework. It's called the E9MBD exercise.
E9MBD.
Right, which stands for erase 9 minutes before death.
Sounds intense.
It is.
Yeah.
The first part of this framework is designed to perform that exact hard drive wipe on your psychological sense of self.
Okay, how does it do that?
It aims to strip away what the text refers to as the borrowed self. So I want you, the listener, to visualize the mechanics of this happening tonight.
Like, while you're sleeping.
Yes. Suppose your entire identity disappeared while you slept. Your name, your nationality, your profession,
Gone.
the spiritual or religious beliefs you hold, your childhood memories, the relationships that define you, who you are a parent to, who you are a child of.
Just totally formatted from dry.
Your degrees, your political affiliations, your achievements. If all of that borrowed material was completely gone, what remains?
See, the source mentions that when people genuinely try to sit with that visualization, they don't feel a sense of cosmic peace.
No, not at all.
They feel absolute terror because they realize everything they point to and proudly declare, that is me, was actually handed to them by someone else.
Our identities are entirely secondhand. And from a psychological standpoint, this makes complete sense.
Because we're social creatures.
Exactly. A family hands a child a specific set of acceptable behaviors. Society hands them a value system. Religion hands them a moral architecture.
And now social media algorithms hand them an aesthetic and a tribe.
Right. Even modern spirituality hands people specific identities. The meditator, the healer, the seeker.
So when you remove all of that borrowed material, you aren't left with this shiny, enlightened soul.
No, you were left staring into a disorienting, totally featureless space.
Okay, let me push back on this a little bit, because
Yeah.
it feels a bit dismissive of the human experience.
Okay, go ahead.
Isn't that collection of borrowed material exactly what makes a person who they are? Think of a mosaic.
A mosaic, sure.
Right, a mosaic is made of thousands of tiny, fragmented pieces of glass from all different origins, but you arrange them together and they form a unique, beautiful picture.
That's a nice visual.
So why should it be terrifying to realize we are a mosaic of our experiences? Why is the text so hostile to that idea?
Well, the text isn't hostile to the mosaic itself. It's exposing the mechanism of how the ego uses that mosaic for survival.
What do you mean?
From an evolutionary biology perspective, humans survived by belonging to tribes, right?
Yeah, you get kicked out of the tribe, you die.
Exactly. To belong to a tribe, you needed a defined identity, a recognizable boundary that signaled to the group, hey, I am one of you.
Oh, I see.
The ego developed to manage those boundaries. So the ego doesn't just casually hold on to the mosaic, it operates like a biological immune system.
An immune system for your personality.
Yes. The moment you suggest that the identity is just a collection of borrowed, arbitrary glass fragments, the ego perceives a massive threat to its survival.
So it attacks the threat.
It deploys white blood cells, anxiety, defensiveness, anger, or even just distraction to kill that realization before it takes root.
So the terror people feel during the E9MBD exercise, it's the psychological equivalent of free fall.
The immune system is basically panicking because the boundaries are dissolving.
Because you suddenly realize you aren't the picture.
Yeah.
You are whatever's observing the picture.
Yep.
And standing in that realization without any of your comforting labels must be agonizing, which explains why people don't just sit peacefully in that state.
They can't. The biological imperative to reestablish a boundary kicks in immediately.
They need a new mosaic.
Right. When faced with the terror of having no identity, the human reflex is to scramble as fast as possible to construct a brand new one.
Which leads us right into the trap.
Yep. This reflex feeds the largest industry of self-deception we have today, the modern spiritual marketplace.
The visual the source uses here is just brilliant. Imagine our forgotten master from the beginning of the deep dive.
Okay, the guy with the wiped hard drive.
Right. He's reborn, he's lived a normal life, but he feels this profound, unexplainable emptiness because he has no data.
So what does he do?
He walks into a modern wellness center, sits down with a spiritual guide, and utters an incredibly vulnerable statement. He just says, I don't know who I am.
Which is a statement of pure, unfiltered reality. But the text points out that the entire machinery of modern spirituality would view that statement as a pathology to be cured.
Oh, they would instantly rush to diagnose and fix his emptiness.
They would hit him with an avalanche of data.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Meditation apps, ancient scriptures, daily mantras, they'd cast his astrological birth chart on the spot.
They prescribe somatic healing modalities, energy work, past life regressions.
Just burying him in a whole new set of labels to wear.
And the tragedy, according to the text, is that the question, I don't know who I am, is actually the disease itself.
Wait, asking the question is the disease.
Yes. Think about the natural world. A 300-year-old oak tree doesn't wake up and wonder who it is.
True.
A river doesn't flow down a mountain having an existential crisis about its purpose. Humans are the only creatures on Earth suffering from the burden of trying to find out what they are.
Rather than simply being what they are.
Exactly.
Wait, so if I go to a retreat or read a stack of books to find myself, this text is arguing I'm doing the exact opposite of what a master would do.
Yes. The instruction to find yourself is the ultimate trick played by the ego's immune system.
Mind blown.
The forgotten master's true teaching in his past life wasn't find yourself. The actual teaching was observe the one trying to find himself.
Observe the one trying to find himself. That completely flips the mechanics of self-improvement on its head.
It really does. One paradigm creates an endless journey for a seeker, constantly accumulating new spiritual identities.
And the other one.
The other paradigm cuts the root of the seeker entirely. Wow. The text highlights this mechanism we use to trick ourselves into thinking we are evolving. People start with, basic personality assessment.
Like Myers-Briggs or the Enneagram.
Right. Then they graduate to astrology or human design. Then they dig into deeper therapeutic models, shadow work, trauma mapping, inner child reparenting.
And then it gets esoteric.
Exactly. Akashic records, quantum jumping, complex breathwork techniques, and they feel immensely dedicated to their growth because the object of their focus keeps changing.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. The underlying obsession hasn't changed at all.
Not one bit.
The obsession is still me, me, me. It makes me think of an actor who is exhausted from playing a ruthless corporate executive every night on stage.
Okay, I like this.
So one day, they demand a new role, they change their costume, they put on some organic linen pants, grab some mala beads, and start playing a spiritual seeker.
But they are still on the same stage.
They are still obsessively staring into the exact same dressing room mirror. They haven't bypassed the ego at all. They've just given the ego a much more socially acceptable, bulletproof wardrobe.
The ego genuinely does not care whether you are being ruthless or whether you are being quote-unquote spiritual.
As long as it's in charge.
It only cares about maintaining its position as the absolute center of your universe. As long as you remain the protagonist of a grand, sweeping narrative of self-discovery, the ego's survival is guaranteed.
So the moment you see this mechanism, that this self you were trying to heal, fix, and discover is just an endless series of costume changes, the entire burden collapses.
It's the goal.
But if this biological survival drive is so deeply ingrained, and the ego is so adept at co-opting even our spiritual pursuits, how do you actually bypass it?
That is the million-dollar question.
I mean, you can't just politely ask your immune system to shut down.
You can't, which is why the source material introduces the second half of the E9-MBD framework.
The ultimate clarifier.
Exactly. To bypass a biological survival drive, you have to introduce a reality that completely dwarfs it. You need the absolute certainty of death.
The erase 9 minutes before death countdown.
Yes. This is where the framework stops being a philosophical game and becomes, honestly, pretty aggressive. The text demands you apply this practically.
Like a real-life application.
Right. Suppose tonight is your last night alive. Not theoretically, not when you are 90 years old, tonight.
Okay.
You have exactly 9 minutes left. The clock starts ticking down from 9 minutes right now.
9 minutes.
Yeah.
That is, that's barely enough time to drive to the grocery store.
It's nothing. So with that clock ticking, the framework asks you to examine the structural integrity of your life. Think about the specific things that consumed your energy today.
Like that argument I had in a comment section this morning.
Or the anxiety you felt about an email from your boss. Or the frustration over traffic. With 9 minutes left, what happens to the weight of that email?
It instantly evaporates. It holds zero weight.
What about your bank account balance? Your social media metrics? Your professional reputation? The university degrees hanging on your wall?
Completely irrelevant. Gone.
Even your curated spiritual identities?
So,
Your fierce political allegiances? As that 9-minute clock counts down, the boundaries the ego built to protect you lose all their structural integrity.
all those borrowed pieces of the mosaic just fall off the wall.
Exactly. And the text poses this piercing question if absolutely none of this survives the final 9 minutes. Why are you spending your entire waking life frantically defending it?
Facing that 9-minute clock forces a huge crisis, doesn't it?
Right.
For some people, looking at that ticking clock is paralyzing.
It's terrifying.
It makes everything they do feel incredibly pointless and empty. But the source seems to be arguing a completely counterintuitive mechanism here.
Catch is.
That exact pointlessness is what finally cuts the heavy anchor of the ego.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, acknowledging death triggers our modern societal anxieties because we have, sanitized and hidden mortality.
You want to look at it.
But the text frames death not as a morbid end, but as a laser. It is the only tool sharp enough to burn away the unverified assumptions we live by.
Leaving only the absolute truth.
It leaves you with the only thing you can actually rely on.
There's a moment in the text that perfectly captures this. The author is running a workshop, right? And he imagines this forgotten master sitting across from him.
The one with no memory.
Yes, this master who's lost all his data, all his teachings. And the author asks him, what do you know for certain?
A great question.
Not what do you believe, not what do you hope is true, but what do you know? And there is a long silence.
What does he say?
The master doesn't quote an ancient Veda. He doesn't offer a complex metaphysical framework about quantum consciousness. He simply says, I know that I will die.
Wow. And the author's response to that in the text is so profound. He says, good, excellent. Now we have a starting point.
That gave me chills.
Because before a person can confront the reality of their own death, the text argues that all their spiritual seeking is just playing games in the dressing room mirror.
The absolute certainty of death is the bedrock.
Yes. From there, you can actually begin to observe reality without the distortion of your assumed identity.
Which brings us to the practical application of all this, because this deep dive isn't just theory, right?
No, there's homework.
The source material issues a direct challenge, and I am passing it on to you, the listener. For the next 7 days, you are going on a strict diet.
A total fast from the spiritual marketplace.
Exactly. For 1 week, no meditating, no chanting, no repeating daily affirmations.
Yep. Put it all down.
No journaling about your inner child. Put the entire apparatus down. Instead, the text assigns one specific exercise.
Okay, get a notebook.
Yes, take a physical notebook. You draw a line down the middle of the page to create 2 columns. You label the first column, certain, and the second column, assumed.
And the execution here requires a level of ruthlessness that, frankly, most people are not used to applying to their own minds.
Be brutal about it.
You must write down in the certain column only what you know directly, through undeniable first-hand reality.
Right. The certain column is not a place for your deeply held beliefs.
Oh, no beliefs allowed.
It is not for your political ideologies or the religious traditions your parents taught you, or even a really convincing theory a neuroscientist explained on a deep dive.
If you haven't experienced it directly, it doesn't count.
Exactly. Like the fact that dropping a glass on concrete will shatter it, or the fact that your body will eventually die. If it's not an undeniable law of reality, it does not go in the certain column.
Everything else goes into the assumed column.
Which is going to be a lot.
Oh, yeah. Your theories about what happens after death, your ideas about who you are as a person, the narratives you tell yourself about your past.
All assumed.
The text guarantees that you will very quickly and perhaps painfully discover that 99% of your entire reality sits squarely in the assumed column.
You realize you are operating a supercomputer entirely on borrowed, unverified software.
It's humbling.
And realizing how much of your life is built on assumptions.
Mm-hmm.
The text actually states that this specific discovery is the actual beginning of human intelligence.
It dismantles the arrogance of the mind. It bypasses the ego's immune system by forcing you to see how fragile the boundaries really are.
It's incredible.
To synthesize the ultimate conclusion of our source material today, the purpose of this entire inevitability framework, the reason we explore the scenario with the forgotten master, isn't to idolize a specific historical figure.
Right.
And it isn't to prove whether past lives are a biological fact or a myth.
The mission was to test the resilience of truth against the fragility of memory.
Exactly. To discover whether truth can survive the total formatting of the human hard drive.
Because if it can.
Because the vital closing argument the text makes is this. If truth can survive the total forgetting of the mind, then perhaps it is the only thing that can survive death itself.
Oh, wow.
And if truth survives death, then the relentless anxiety of defending our tiny borrowed identities is completely unnecessary.
It means we don't have to be terrified of losing the files because the electricity powering the whole thing is eternal.
The mechanism of reality operates whether we remember to participate in it or not.
That is just wow. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over as you go about your day.
Let's hear it.
Think back to the premise we started with. If you woke up tomorrow and your entire memory was completely erased, but your consciousness remained fully intact and aware, what is the very first thing that life itself would teach you?